How y'all doing? So it's me, Mr. Tony Dark, aka Mr. Try It Thing. Well, I got a little problem here. My Mercedes M276 DELA, as I like to call it, engine decided to give me an issue. So what's going on here is my tensioner pulley disintegrated, and I'm trying to change it, but the problem is the intercooler is in the way. If the intercooler wasn't in the way, this would have been a 15-minute job if you have all the parts. So what I'm going to try to do is see if I can remove the tensioner pulley. Let's see if you can see here. There's a bolt behind. There's a bolt behind the pulley. So what I'd actually have to do is put a ratchet here, hold it up, and then at the same time try and loosen the bolt, because this bolt's free, but that's mad hard. So I'm gonna try that to see if I can get it off and then maybe fish the belt through, but that may be a little hard. So I'm gonna see how much work it is to at least pull the intercooler off, because I really don't want to turn this into a wet job and break the coolant lines. So what I'm gonna end up doing is seeing if I can loosen it here, take off these plugs, and then pull the intercooler forward, and then that will give me free access to actually change the tensioner, as well as fish the belt around and get it going. So I'm gonna first try to remove the tensioner by itself, and then if that takes more than 10 minutes, then I'm gonna try to take off the intercooler and rest it forward. So I can't record and work at the same time, so I'm gonna try and do this and then come back as I go. All right, wish me luck. So I got it out. There it is. So what I did is I used this 3/4 wrench with this special socket. This socket is what saved the day, because it has it's like a nut on one side, because this Ampro kit is supposed to be deep sockets. So what I did is I put it in here, and it's in there tight enough that it wouldn't slip off, and I put it on the tensioner nut and it brought it out. So that allowed me to move freely in there, so I could hold it and loosen it at the same time. So while trying to loosen it, I ran into a little snag, so I needed my short socket and my long socket. So I broke it with the wrench. Oops. I broke it with the wrench, and then I used the ratchet, electric ratchet, to get it out quickly, so I didn't have to sit there and hold it. So it took a lot of gymnastics to get it out. And then looking at the tensioner itself, now I see why it failed. As you can see, the bearings failed and jammed in between here. So that's how it popped my belt. Is I guess it must have been spinning, the bearings broke loose, and then it chewed up the belt. So, and then the battery light that I got is because the alternator stopped spinning. So yeah, so now I'm gonna try and see if I can fish through the belt without removing the intercooler. If I can do that, this job will go really fast, but I don't know. So here we go. Wish me luck again. All right, I'm happy to report I was successful. So I'm going to show you what made it successful, and here we go. As you can see, everything is back in. This is what made it work. Definitely this tool with the socket with the corners, the Ampro socket, and a 3/4 wrench. That's how I was able to get behind the intercooler and loosen the tension on the tensioner one. And then I ran into a problem, because since the tensioner was locked up when I put it back in, I ran into a problem reinstalling the bolt, the left bolt. So this is what saved me. I had to use this special tool I bought some time ago from, what's this company called? VIM. They make a bunch of little small ratchets and 1/8 turn ratchets for tight spaces. So what I did is I used that tool, and I used a, what is this, 1/4 to 3/8 adapter, and that gave me the what do you call it, that gave me just enough space that I was able to put the socket on the bolt and get in behind the intercooler to tighten that bolt up. So that's how I was able to tighten it back up, because I wouldn't have been able to do it any other way with any other ratchet. So I was able to tighten that bolt, and then I tightened the other bolt, and then I was able to get the belt on. Now, the magic trick to getting the belt on without having to take off the intercooler, because let me tell you, I thought I was gonna have to take off this intercooler and it would have been an absolute nightmare, because you have to take off the intake manifold and there's so many bolts and zip ties tied down. I mean, I tried to. I took off the engine computer. I tried to take off this plastic thing, but there was so much stuff holding it down that I gave up on that. So the other magic trick is that this was a two-person job. My stepfather came out and helped me, and what we were able to do, if you look at the diagram here, the hardest thing is I took out the original belt. I didn't want to cut it because I wanted to make sure that the new belt was the right size before cutting it. So I didn't cut it, and I wanted to get it out. So with his help, he was able to fish it out by squeezing one side and feeding it back, and then me on the other side, I was able to pull it off. And this is why it's such a big deal, because the intercooler is there and because all this crap is in the way. He had to fish it from this side, and then I grab it from this side, and I was able to pull it out. So when we put it back in, what we did is we made a I'll use the other belt to show you. Following the diagram, we made a little loop, and we put the belt on the top side of the crank, and then fish the other side down. Once you get it over the crank, you can feed it back. So we did that. Then we went over the AC compressor, over the idler pulley, and then what he did is we fished it just up below the intake manifold here, on top of the intercooler. We fished it over and went down to the alternator. Once we got it over the alternator, it was kind of simple from there, because all you had to do was just take the bottom piece, get it over the water pump, and then make the loop for the tensioner. So that is how you do it. You get two people and you have one person fish from one side while you grab from the other side. Without another set of hands, it's kind of hard to try and use one hand to grab it and then use the other hand to grab it, because of all the sheer stuff that's in the way. And it's also night, so this light, trying to do it with a flashlight would have been impossible. So this headlight, this little $20 Amazon light, is a lifesaver. I'm gonna go buy another one just to have for situations like this. So I did pretty much this whole job with, you know, all the tools that's in my Mary Poppins bag. You know, all men that know cars typically walk with some tools. So with the exception of that, man, that was it. Just a couple special tools. It's definitely possible to change the belt without taking out the intercooler. As you can see, I did it. So with that said, I'm gonna wrap this up and I'm gonna go get something to eat. So thanks for tuning in, and good night.